Greetings, Boffins. Welcome to the Boffin Lab. I'm Mardor Taran, and this is Ark Survival Evolved. Today we will look at how to set up your first base and where to choose as a location for it. Before we get started, there's an important concept you need to understand. Foundations, such as this one, block spawns. They'll block berry bushes, trees, rocks and other stone-type nodes, dinosaurs, and supply drops. I've deliberately cleared the area around this foundation, which is normally a heavily wooded and buried bushed area, and then let it respawn. As you can see, it's actually quite a wide area that is blocked from spawning again. Berry bushes tend to grow closer than the trees and rocks, but even then, there's a fair area that's been blocked. This has multiple effects on your game. For starters, it means that you can clear an area to use it as a place to stay. But it also means that once you've used the resources in that area, you're going to have to go farther afield to get what you need. There's another problem. If you place your base someplace that is going to block important spawns, such as metal or high-level supply drops, you're probably going to annoy someone. And you're also depriving yourself of important resources. Most people on a public service don't like anyone building on mountains that have metal. If you block more than a couple of metal spawns, they will probably come and tell you to move, or they'll just show up in force and make you move, one way or the other. It's not a good idea to build in a position that's going to block all critical resources such as metal, or even stone in the early parts of the game. Supply drops are another thing you need to watch. They're hard to spot early on, so you might need to take some time observing your area to see where they land. You'll find that you will benefit best not blocking the local supply drops, as they will help you get started in the game. When people spawn in this game, they seem to instinctively go to build a structure on the beach near their spawn location. This is actually a bad move. First of all, other people are going to spawn near you, and they're going to take the resources near you. Secondly, if you build on the beach here, you'll find that everybody can find you very easily, and it's quite likely you're going to receive an unpleasant visit before you get a chance to really protect yourselves. The last thing is, occasionally these spawn points have predators spawning nearby. This little bay actually spawns a Spinosaurus on a regular basis, as does the next inlet over. If you can see the swamp from where you are, it's a really bad move. Crocodiles or sarcos and the titanoboas will spawn in that area constantly, and they're quite happy to chew on a thatch or wooden building. Your beginning move when you're choosing a base is to decide between one of two things. Are you going to hide, or are you going to build your main base straight away? We're looking at a good option for a starting base in Ark Survival Evolved: hiding it. I've nestled this little base that's 4 long and 1 wide into a little niche in the terrain. Rocks and trees basically hide me from anybody around, and I cannot be seen from the air. If I don't harvest anything around this base, it's basically going to stay hidden unless somebody walks over it. That makes it highly unlikely somebody's going to find me and take my stuff, at least for a few days. And those few days is what you need to get started and start making a truly secure base. Remember, don't harvest around this sort of a base. And this is a temporary base. It isn't defensible. It's actually quite dangerous and vulnerable in and of itself, but its whole purpose is to never be found. I have in my belt slot a very useful idea for a beginning player. It's a wooden raft. The wooden raft is a building platform and a transport mechanism. you can get on it and drive it around. It's not particularly fast, but it can go just about anywhere there's water. You can also remove the mask and clear your vision so you can see. And lastly, you can build on them. This allows you to build a complete wooden floating base. An early game, this might be the way to go. You can build the raft at level 15, and with a bit of wood and some hide, you can start sailing. This will allow you to hide your first base far from the eyes of just about everybody. Not many people fly over the outer seas, but people do travel out there, so you won't be totally safe. However, the chances of somebody simply raiding you because they saw you sitting on the beach somewhere is a good deal less. And if you think the area you're currently in is dangerous, you can move. You can build any type of structure on this: stone, metal, whatever. What's more, the raft doesn't register any significant weight, so it becomes an excellent way of transporting large amounts of gear. It doesn't need to be fed, it doesn't need to be stabled, and it's not going to be led off by somebody. Only you and your tribe can drive it. So, it is the only dinosaur you can absolutely guarantee will not be taken from you. It can be sunk. It only has 20,000 hit points, and it is a wooden structure, so a megalodon or a trike could damage it if they could reach the actual raft. There's a few clever tricks you can do to protect it. However, in the early game, when all you've got is wooden structures, going out to sea could be your best defense. One of the problems you're going to face when you're building a base is water. It makes it a lot more convenient to have a water source nearby. However, sometimes that's not always possible, and the best place for a base is somewhere distant from a normal water source. There are two ways of dealing with water. One, make pipework to a water source and connect them. You need an intake, pipework string in it, and a tap, and this will create a water source for you. The downside of this is that the pipework basically leads anybody from the beach to your base, wherever it happens to be. Stone pipework can also be destroyed by any large dino just walking past. They mightn't be aggressive, they mightn't even be angry, they just happen to be big. And if your base is a long way from a river or ocean, this piping network could be very, very long indeed. The other option are water tanks, and these work well if your base is intended to be hidden for a while. Water tanks exposed to the sky will fill up when it rained on. These small stone water tanks will hold 200 water each, and so this network has a total of 400 water units in it, or 4 drinks for a normal person. You can also bring water to these tanks in water skins, water jars, or canteens and fill them up, which is also a great option. If you've got several water skins and you're on your way home, fill them up, take them back, put them in the water tank, because water skins leak, and that's one way of making sure you still have your water when you need it. Once again, these will fill up when it rains as long as the rain can hit the top of them. So, a couple of them on the roof of your building will provide you enough water for 1 or 2 people, as long as you don't do any serious cooking. When you're selecting a location for your main base, you should consider a few basic principles. First, elevation. Being above the enemy makes a lot of difference in a fight. If the enemy can fire down into your defenses, they have the advantage. They can see over your walls, they can see into your courtyard, they can see your dinosaurs. However, if the enemy must fire up at you, you have the advantage. You'll be able to see where they're hiding, and you'll be able to restrict where they can hide. Another principle to consider is restricted access. I'm looking at a plateau on the South Pole called Weathertop. This plateau has 3 or 4 entrances. Really, it's quite restricted. Most of it is cliffs like this. However, you're claiming a very large area. That could cause some problems in the long run. But a base needs to expand. If you get the chance to really grow, you'll want more room for more dinosaurs, especially if your tribe grows as well. When you select a location for your base, you need to consider how far you want to travel for critical resources. Stone and wood will always be necessary, even if you build a metal base. Metal, of course, is going to be very critical to your future, and how far you have to travel for it will be of great importance. However, once you eventually tame some of the flyers in the game, it'll be a little easier to obtain even if it's distant. But the basic resources such as berries and trees, if you have to go too far for those, you're wasting time just traveling between them. Try and find a balance between safety and distance to your resources. How fast you can establish your base will matter just as much as how defensible it is. We're looking at one of the builder's nightmares in Ark Survival Evolved: uneven ground and obstructions. I've put down some foundations, but as you can see, there's no way I can put another foundation next to them due to the slope of the ground. In order to solve this problem, I'm going to have to use pillars and ceilings. However, I also have a rock here that cannot be harvested. It's part of the terrain features, and I can't move it. It will block my building in some places. As you can see, the structure is obstructed, and I cannot place it. You'll need to think about these problems when you're selecting a location. Open, flat ground is very desirable. If you're planning to build on uneven ground, you might want to plan it out first with thatch bases and pillars. See whether you can get the structure you want. Of course, it all depends on whether aesthetics means much to you. But you'll also find that a base that is uneven will give you problems when you try to move dinosaurs through them. Lastly, a base that is not evenly and well planned out often has little weaknesses that can be exploited by an enemy, especially a clever raider. If you were to build this using pillars and ceilings, an enemy could get under your floor and attack from underneath, coming up inside your building, past the defenses. You need to give this some thought before you actually start your program. Wherever you're building, make sure you've got enough room to make a decent one. There is one principle a lot of people don't get when they build their first base in Ark. It needs to defend itself. You're not always going to be online to do it. The earliest ways of defending your base is either to have aggressive or defensive dinosaurs, which is not optimal because they can be led away and killed, or to obtain the X species plant turrets. The X species looks like this in the wild. They're not actually aggressive, they won't hurt you, but you can harvest the seeds just by collecting them as if they were a bush. Now I've got 8 plant seeds. Another place you will find species X seeds is in the reeds around the swamp. They're not common at all, So using a dinosaur that will harvest berries will probably get you the best results. You'll probably get one or two every now and then, at best. Finding the bushes will get you a better result. However, in the early game, you only need 10 or 12 plant seeds to get a start. We have here two fully grown Species X plant turrets. They require a large crop plot in order to be planted, which you can get at level 35. They need water, but if they are open to the sky, the rain will be enough. And they need some source of fertilizer. Dinosaur feces or even player feces usually is enough to start off, but you can make fertilizer in a compost bin or tame a dung beetle and make fertilizer by giving it feces. Fortunately, plant turrets don't require ammo of any kind. They can fire indefinitely as long as they're still alive. They don't even use up the fertilizer in order to fire. So they become the most cost-effective way of defending your base early game. Plant turrets fire a green goo which is similar to Dillo spit. It blinds the target, it slows the target, and it has a knockback effect as well as causing damage. I will demonstrate by showing what happens when I spawn in a dinosaur in front of these two. I've spawned a level 50 Ankylosaurus and it's being hit by both plant turrets. As you can see, it can barely even move forward, and it's taking damage. An aggressive dinosaur is likely to die very quickly to this. The runners might escape, but these things can even knock down pteranodons, as long as they can hit them with the first shot. And it's dead. That didn't take long at all. The more plant turrets you put around your base, the more securities. But the main purpose for the plant turrets is to stop players simply wandering up to your base and breaking in. Get them as soon as possible. Don't wait. As soon as you've got anything valuable, put up plant turrets. It's worth doing a whole tribe expedition to try and get them to work. People come up with all sorts of ideas when building in this game. Impressive structures of grand design, tight compact defense facilities, heavy-duty assault bases designed to trap an enemy and destroy them, or just artistic, beautiful buildings. Your creativity is going to make a big difference in all this, and fortunately the devs keep coming out with new gear with which to build. Have fun, keep surviving.